Hello and welcome to our third webinar on professional practice. In this session, we'll look at facilitating ongoing professional development and the importance of regular professional development. Let's begin this session with talking about professional development, or as it's known as PD. PD keeps you up to date with the knowledge and skills you require to succeed within your working career. To ensure your knowledge remains relevant, most aged care organisations offer training at different levels to their staff to ensure their staff are well informed. You can also research new trends on the internet or through your networks, and this can also be classed as professional development. You may be required to complete a set amount of PD hours each year and keep an up-to-date record of your activities using a form which can be provided within your work area. This can either be seen as a log or as a hard copy form. You may also be required to provide this record as evidence when you attend your annual performance review. It's important that as leisure and health workers, you understand how you learn best when participating in professional development. Your learning styles have more influence than you may realise. Your preferred styles often guide the way that you learn. They can also change the way you internally represent experiences, the way you recall information, and even the words you choose. Let's now look at 3 common learning styles. As we talk through these different learning styles, take note to which of these is the best way that you learn. The first learning style we're going to look at is visual learning. This means you learn by seeing and looking. If you fall into this category, you will take detailed notes rather than get involved in the class or group discussions, tend to sit in the front so you can see clearly what's happening, and you benefit from illustrations and presentations, especially when they're in colour. The second learning style is auditory learning. This means you learn by hearing and listening. If you fall into this category, you will enjoy group discussions and talking things through. You acquire knowledge by reading out loud, and at times you may talk or even hum to yourself. The learning style we're going to look at is kinesthetic or tactile learning. This means you learn by touching or doing things. If you fall into this category, you'll find that you need lots of breaks and will want to move around the classroom. You speak with your hand and use gestures. You remember what was done, but you may have difficulty remembering what was said or what you saw. And you learn through doing the activities. After looking at these 3 different types of learning styles, which do you feel that you fall best into? For me personally, I believe I'm a visual learner, as I learn best by reading and also by looking at diagrams. Now I'm going to look at networks and networking. As leisure and health workers, it's important to build on current and also create new networks. There are many different networks available to us as leisure and health staff, but it's impossible for us to liaise with all of these networks. Therefore, it will be necessary to identify and prioritise which networks will provide the greatest benefit to both ourselves and also to our clients. In order to decide this, we may need to ask the following questions. What are this organisation's goals and objectives? So, what's the goals and objectives of the aged care or disability organisation you work for? What are the specific needs of our clients? What are the roles of the workers within the organisation that we work for? And what are the purposes and goals of the networks that are available to us? Once we've asked these questions, we should be able to determine what would be the best networks for us to be involved with. The purposes of networks and networking may include learning about the role, services and resources of other workers and other organisations, providing advice and information to others about your own organisation, providing peer support and review, professional development, maintaining coordination among organisation and also workers, supporting joint programs or activities, and providing information for policy development. You will need to make networking a priority and ensure that effective networking will benefit the organisation the other staff you work with, and also our clients. Actions that an organisation can take in order to prioritise networking may include discussing networking options with its staff, planning for networking opportunities, curating its own network, providing time for employees to participate within networks, providing resources to contribute to network needs, and creating clear networking policies and procedures for the staff to follow. There are many different types of networks and associations that you may benefit from. These can include advisory committees, government agencies, other organisations, professional associations, or specific interest or support groups. Now I'm going to look at the importance of following ethical and legal requirements when working as leisure and health staff. It's important to note that organisations will have its own rules, such as policies and procedures that we need to abide by. But on top of this, we've got state and federal government legislation that also impacts on our workplace. Most specifically in the area of occupational health and safety. So let's look at this now as an example. Occupational health and safety, now known as Workplace Health and Safety, or WH&S. WorkSafe in Victoria has a comprehensive website that focuses on various industries, the potential risks to working in those industries, and they have a lot of information on how we can eliminate or reduce hazards and control risks within our workplace. As leisure and health staff, you have a general duty to take reasonable care for your own health and safety, and also the health and safety of others that may be affected by your work. So this includes other staff and also your clients. So most employers will be making a conscious effort to contribute to workplace health and safety. Some of the things they may do includes following workplace health and safety procedures, making staff attend health and safety training, and helping to identify hazards and risks. Most of this information will be included within your position or job description about your role when it comes to health and safety. On top of this, it's mandatory within aged care facilities for staff to attend annual health and safety training, such as fire training and also manual handling training. The final thing we're going to do in this webinar is we're going to look at some familiar leisure and health terms, and then we'll complete a quiz to match them to their definition. On this slide, you'll see that on the left-hand side of the table is a term, and on the right-hand side is a definition. I'd like you to pause this webinar now to allow yourself time to match each term with its correct definition. When we come back, I'll go through the answers with you. Okay, how do you think you went? I'll read through the answers now, and you can see how many of the terms and definitions you got correct. Duty of care. The definition is, requires that an acceptable standard of care that is reasonably practicable be provided to ensure the health and safety of those at the workplace, and also to those affected by the work that you do. Did you get that one correct? The second term, confidentiality, is the protection of personal information. Confidentiality means keeping a client's information between you and the client and not telling others, including co-workers, family and friends, etc. The third term is legislation governing confidentiality. The piece of legislation that governs confidentiality is the Privacy Act 1988. The next term is the Privacy Act 1988. Is an Australian law which regulates the handling of personal information about individuals. This includes the collection, use, storage and disclosure of personal information. The next term we've got is codes of ethics. This is a set of moral principles and practice standards which a professional uses to guide their practice. And finally, regulations. This is a document devised by the government department that outlines specific requirements. How did everyone go? Did anyone get 6 out of 6? I hope so. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for their participation in this webinar today. Continue now by watching this video that talks in more detail about learning styles. Remembering to take note of which style of learning most suits you, as this will be a question discussed within your assessment.